Hello, everyone. Yay. It is the last Friday of the month. That means we're going live. And this week we are talking all about product SEO. Essentially, what are the optimizations we need to do for our product listings before we post them on Pinterest? And when it comes to SEO and our products, there's only one person we need to talk to, and it's you, Mariah Magazine. How's it going, Mariah?
It's going very well. I am really excited to talk about this. I feel like SEO, it's one of those things that really overwhelms people. And I really
Mhm.
enjoy being able to kind of break it down.
Yes, and I'm so excited to dive deeper into this. Can you tell us a little bit about you and how you became the expert?
Yeah, so I'm Mariah. I'm an SEO consultant and educator for entrepreneurs over at mariahmagazine.com. So basically, to be honest, in a nutshell, I'm just a firm believer that showing up on Google, increasing your visibility, and growing your business doesn't have to be as overwhelming and as difficult as everybody makes it. So I've
Mhm.
been in the space since 2015, and I got into the industry doing website design and development. And so what I was doing is I was helping clients design their websites, launch their websites, and then they would come back and they'd be like, okay, well, how do I get this on Google? And I was like,
Mhm.
couldn't tell you, don't have a clue. And so at that time, that was also the beginning stage of my business too, where I had a lot more time than money. And so I spent a lot of time kind of dabbling in the online business space. And I was learning so much stuff actually about Pinterest and about, do you remember the one platform Stumble Upon?
Stumble upon, yes. What
Okay,
happened
so
to it?
it disappeared because it's not a fantastic idea for how we use the web anymore. But anyways, I
Mhm.
remember learning about all of these different things, and I remember having a tutorial on my website about how do you stumble upon to grow your business. And what I realized is that I have this weird gift of being able to break down hard to understand things into easy to understand ways. And so I was like, oh, I'll start blogging about this stuff. So I started blogging, and then I ran into the same issue that all of my clients had. How the heck do I get this stuff found on Google? And so I started diving into the SEO rabbit hole. And basically, what I found was that a lot of content online was either created by advanced SEO people talking to other advanced SEO people working on super big websites, corporate websites with
Mhm.
tens of thousands of pages, or it was SEO information created by local agencies trying to overwhelm you or be super vague. So you just hired them on retainer. And
Mm.
so none of those solutions were what I needed. None of them were for the online business owner, for the local business owner, for the small business or medium-sized business owner. And so what I did, I was really interested in kind of figuring this out. So I dove in, took SEO apart, put it back together in a way that actually makes sense for me, started testing it with my own blog, was getting really, really good results. Then I started trickling it out to clients, and that was over 6 years ago. And
Mhm.
I say that SEO dug its teeth into me and hasn't let me go.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by how it works.
Amazing. I love that you almost raided the big guys and brought the secrets to a small business. You're like Robin Hood in
Oh my
the
God, how
sense
funny.
of, because tried to read a lot of these SEO blog posts, and it's just like, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why?
It's a lot of that. And don't get me wrong, SEO can be really advanced and it can be really complicated, but it also depends on the keyword that you're trying to target, which they tend to leave out. And like I said, they're talking about more advanced strategies that these smaller business owners don't necessarily need to dive into yet. And instead, I remember reading them and just being like, say what you're going to say, dude.
Yeah.
What are you saying to me? And
Hmm.
there wasn't really any YouTube videos walking through things or examples that made sense to me. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, my industry, I also think that there's this thing where it's they don't want to be transparent
Yeah.
because they just want you to pay them
Hmm.
to do it
Just
for
hire
you.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, which works in some instances if I was a business owner that didn't want to think about it. But I've realized that there's a ton of people like me where it's can you just tell me how to start thinking about this and how to maybe start taking baby steps and implementing it little by
Hmm.
little?
Yeah.
So,
I love that. So, everyone, if you're here with us, you know how this goes. Be sure to just leave a comment for us in the chat if you have a question. We're live, and Mariah will be able to answer that for you. And of course, if you're watching the replay, just leave that question in the comments. So I think we need to start with the most basic question that we all might be wondering. What exactly is SEO?
Yeah, for sure. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And basically, what that means is like your website being optimized to show up in search results like Google. I say like Google because when you optimize your website, those results can trickle into the other search engines and stuff like that. Us SEO people, we just mainly focus on Google because they have the biggest market share. So SEO helps you get free and organic traffic from the search results on search engines. So SEO is not the same as those paid ads. That's Google AdWords. That's a different strategy. It's all under the umbrella of like search engine marketing.
Yeah.
But essentially, SEO is free and organic. Google ads are paid. And so they're two different things. I actually don't mess with Google Ads. That's like a whole different beast to me. And so I've had a lot of clients spend a ton of money on Google Ads, but then they come to me and they're like, okay, well, I wish that I would have done the organic search engine optimization so that I could have started like building momentum as I was throwing money at ads, because ads only get usually like more and more expensive. So if you're going to do Google Ads, I would recommend at least setting up your SEO foundation before you start tossing a whole bunch of money into ads. But SEO, it's really important because like your audience is already looking for the solutions that you offer. And SEO is how we get Google to recommend you and your website as that solution. And then in terms of marketing, it's one of the only website traffic strategies that give you long-term results. I feel like with the exception of Pinterest, because Pinterest is also like a search engine and they kind of operate really, really similarly and they kind of ping off of each other. But with most social media platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all of that. And with paid ads, once you stop paying or once you stop engaging, you lose traffic. But SEO on Google, on Pinterest, and even on YouTube, it continues to build on itself if you do it correctly.
I love that. Your focus on organic. That's the same with me when it comes to Pinterest. I teach you all organic marketing that doesn't cost you a dime in terms of ad spend. And I have found the same to be true about Pinterest. When you put in that time and you build up that almost history of your content targeting specific keywords, you just continue to grow. It's almost impossible not to grow. I would love for us to focus in on product SEO. So I know a lot of us, maybe we have businesses where either we're selling digital products, maybe we're selling physical products. And there are so many different marketplaces or platforms we can use for selling. But where do we start when it comes to product SEO? How do we optimize?
Yeah, so I think we have to consider how search works. And then we can kind of go into this. So basically, Google has little robots that go through and crawl the web. And they take, like these robots take note of the content and the pages on a website, try to scan the page, get a main idea of what is this page about, so it can put it into Google's index. All Google's index is a really big filing cabinet. So when we go to Google and we search for things, Google goes into the filing cabinet and pulls out and shows you what it thinks best matched what you searched for. Your product page is another page on the website. Like people think that they're like wildly different, but like the foundation of SEO also, it applies to blog posts, it applies to your homepage. If you're a service-based business, also applies to service pages, but it's also your product pages and your collection pages. What words are you using on those specific pages to connect and tell Google what this page is about so that it can associate you with the right keywords. So keywords are the piece of the puzzle that connect your pages to Google's index. And so when it comes to product SEO, we have to get very strategic about the actual words that we're using on our pages, making sure that they correlate with like people trying to purchase something.
I love that. So it's all about the keywords. It's all about the keywords, language.
Truly.
So on the topic of keywords, and I know this is a question that a lot of us probably have, is where do we find these keywords? Where does it start? Like on our end, whether we're creating a product or if we've already created the product and then want to make sure our product can be found.
Yeah, I would say brainstorm. What phrases would somebody type into Google in order to find this product? So I know that like some people like to use like cute names for their products, and that's fine. Like it's the Mariah scented candle or something, like that sounds weird, but like it's like the Mariah candle, and it's like, okay, but like, what is the Mariah scent? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it lemongrass? Is it orange blossom? Is it cinnamon? Is it vanilla? And so instead of thinking about it from like, I want to be cute and creative, instead we have to think about it and be like, no, what are the words that people would type into a search engine in order to find this specific product? And then ask yourself, am I the best solution to that search query? A query is basically just a keyword. A query is like whatever the heck you type into Google. It could be 1 word, 3 words, 17 words. That's essentially a query. But I think just taking a step back and getting clear about like, what are you selling and what words are connected to that? And then go to Google and Google it and see what shows up.
To make sure that the queries that you're going to use in either your product name or product description are actually the ones that your ideal customer is using.
Or yes, that, but also so that you can understand how Google sees that keyword. So an example that I like to give is one of my clients. This is a service-based example, but I think it'll be relevant for this too. So this client was a public speaking coach, and she was like, okay, I want to show up on page 1 for powerful speaker. I was like, okay, let's go to Google and Google it. Car audio and stereo speakers show up. So it's actually an e-commerce keyword, powerful speaker. It's not a service-based keyword. And so I think we ended up targeting something more specific, like become a powerful speaker, or just being very obvious and like public speaking coach.
Yeah.
So if she would have tried to target powerful speaker and she looked at her data, maybe she would have gotten frustrated, been like, Mariah, you don't know what you're talking about. This isn't working. I'm not showing up for powerful speaker. You were never going to, because the way that Google views that keyword is not the way that you were viewing that keyword.
Yeah.
So it's really
like a literal speaker versus a human speaker.
Yes. And so when we're so close to our products, when we're so close to our business, we forget about this stuff. We forget that there are other ways to like explain other things that might be aligned with the way that we explain things. So it's like, go to Google and Google it, Google the phrase, and know that like adding 1 or 2 words might completely shift the results. So like to get on Google, start with Google. And like, then we can kind of work backwards a little bit and dive into like full keyword research and using keyword research tools and stuff like that. But before you dive into the tools, you have to understand what Google is pulling. And so another example is like, if you go to Google and you type in singer, the sewing machine shows up. If you type in the singer, I'm pretty sure it's either a movie or like song lyrics show up. And so it's like, we have to be able to understand how Google views the keyword before we can even consider targeting it.
Yeah, it's all about the context.
Yes.
And that would be, I would say, like the exact same for Pinterest. Like if you want to know, like you have to go to Pinterest. And you can't just like, we can't choose our keywords in a vacuum and assume that, you know, if we use them, then yes, you know, we're going to get found. That's a really, really great point. In terms of keywords, so if we are trying to, because when I'm thinking about keyword research, there's like almost 2 ends to it. Like the one end is the keywords we're using and finding to go into our product listing or sales page or whatever on our website. And then there's also the keywords that we would be finding and using wherever we're sharing said product. So if we're going on Pinterest, the keywords might not necessarily be the same if you're trying to optimize your listing for Google versus optimizing for, say, even Pinterest or even YouTube as another example as a search engine, right?
I mainly primarily focus on Google, so I hang out in the Google realm. I will say that like I do have experience with my own YouTube channel that like sometimes there is a really good overlap between YouTube and Google will pull in results from YouTube. It also pulls in results from Amazon. It pulls in results from Etsy and things
Yeah.
like that. I have had people use like their Google SEO keywords as like a starting point for Pinterest and that type of research. But like, yeah, you kind of have to always double check and like search the actual platform to make sure that it's like the same context or the same user intent.
For sure. And there's sometimes like even because we're talking about products, but I know, for example, for blog posts, if I'm trying to find the right keyword for a blog post, the one that I find for Google may not necessarily be the exact same phrasing of that phrase or that in search intent or a query that it would be on Google, that it would be on Pinterest, for example. So just encouraging everyone to get searching. And I know a follow-up question that also leads into your amazing freebie that you have for us is like, what are the tools for finding these keywords that you would recommend?
Yes. So I would say hands down, my favorite keyword research tool. It's expensive. I think it starts at like $130 a month. So if you're just getting started, it's pricey. I'm pretty sure that they do have a free version of it where you get like limited searches a day, but SEMrush is like hands down my baby. It's where I hang out all of the time. It's got the most comprehensive SEO specific data. I know that some people, if you're just like dipping your toes in and want to kind of explore things, it depends on what phase you're in. So if you're in the brainstorming phase and you're like, yo, I literally just need ideas, you can play around with Answer the Public. That's really good at like brainstorming, maybe getting some like more specific keywords and stuff like that. If you want to get data and be able to see, is this keyword too competitive? Is there a lot of search volume? Then Ubersuggest is the one that a lot of people use. One that I haven't explored, but I know that some of my SEO colleagues, especially in the blogging industry, they swear by Keysearch. That one is a little bit more cost effective. I think it's, don't quote me, it might be like $15 a month or something like that. So
Yeah, I
way
have
cheaper.
Keysearch. It's about 100 and something a year.
Oh yeah, that's solid.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's like the depending where, like you said, where you are with your SEO journey, if you're just getting started or if you're really ready to invest in having like the best tools that are going to get you the results you need.
Yep, for sure. So definitely those. And then use the Pinterest search bar and use the Google search bar, both of them, because in Google, I know specifically when you're typing things in and you see like the suggested options that pop down, a lot of people think that those are based on your search history. They're not. They're based on what Google thinks that you're going to type in based on popular searches.
Yeah.
So you can definitely play around in that realm, but there's another tool. So Google Analytics and Google Search Console are two tools created by Google. Google Analytics is basically like how to understand your website traffic, how long people are spending on your site, and like where your traffic is coming from. I definitely recommend setting, if not that one up, then like some kind of analytics software. And the reason why that plays into SEO is because Google judges your site on over 200 factors, and a lot of these are user experience. So Google Analytics, but then Google Search Console, and I'm going to tie this back into keywords, but Google Search Console, essentially, it's free. Once you set it up, you'll be able to see what keywords your website is already being found for on Google. So people think that you have to like pay for this super expensive tool. You don't. You just need Google Search Console. So some people would put Google Search Console into the bucket of like keyword research tools, but you have to keep in mind, it's only a keyword research tool if you're researching the keywords that you're already being found for.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. These are all great. I hope y'all have been writing these down. This actually leads to another really great question, especially considering, you know, some Google changes that have been happening. We don't have to go super deep with this, but what are your thoughts on, can products still rank in Google post-update?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, like, we can see this just from the simple fact of like, go Google a keyword related to a product. Go Google lemongrass candle. Lemongrass candle product pages are literally showing up on Google. So
Yeah.
pay attention. Like when I said use Google to get on Google, that's essentially all us SEO people do. We know best practices and stuff, but like we're seeing how Google is operating, we're looking at the data, and then we're working backwards to kind of figure these things out. So yes, like single product pages can show up really well on Google. Category and collection pages can show up really well on Google. Which one you target will all depend on like the keyword that you're targeting and how your website and content and products are. So, for example, let's just use lemongrass candle still. If you only have one lemongrass candle, you can target that keyword lemongrass candle on that specific product page. If you have 7 lemongrass candles, then maybe you target that keyword on a specific collection page.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of all depends. And then we get into the rabbit hole of like, okay, well, should these actual like products be combined into one product page and then it's listed as variants? So that's
Mm.
kind of like a whole other strategy that you kind of have to play around. But yes, website SEO, optimizing your products, digital products too, like sales pages, like my DIY SEO course sales page shows up on the first in position 1 on page 1 for Google because it's literally the perfect solution to the problem.
Yeah.
And so, yes, and then also consider, and this is a little bit more advanced, it's kind of a pain in the butt to set up and to optimize. I'm not even super well versed in it, but Google Merchant Center, connecting that to like your Shopify
Mm-hmm.
and being able to do that. So, Google Merchant Center basically helps Google better understand your specific product pages so that those products can show in the shopping tab, which are now kind of being brought into the original like first page search results depending on the keyword. But then last thing, this is why I love e-commerce. The last thing is that like your images can also be pulled into page 1. So the example that I gave like on my Instagram a couple weeks ago was basically like if you go to Google and you type in like fall wreaths for front door, it's actually pulling in images from Google's image database, and those images are connected to product pages.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Google is all in the business of like, how do we deliver the best solution to the problem? That's why keyword research and understanding the user intent of the keyword is so important, because are you the best solution to this problem? And can you portray that to Google? So
Mm-hmm.
yes, all in all, products can still rank on Google for sure.
I love that. We just got a question. What is the anatomy of a well-organized single product page and category?
Yeah, so basically we have to optimize it. We have to put our target keyword in a couple places. So the first place is going to be in the product title. The product title is usually wrapped in an H1 heading. That's what we want. We only want one H1 heading per page. So that means in your product description, don't put any more H1 headings. Google looks at the H1 heading to be able to understand what's the main topic of this page so that it can pick up on context clues. So number 1 is in the product title. Then try to use it within the first like 100 words on the actual like product description itself, and then try to get it into an H2 or an H3 heading within the product description too. And then we definitely want it in the URL, like the product slug, essentially. We want it in the image alt text. We want your target keyword in the SEO title and in the meta description. And then if you can, depending on how much content you have on your product page, maybe we repeat the keyword again. But
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially, there's no way to tap Google and be like, hey, this is my target keyword. There's
Yeah.
no way to do that. So instead, you have to infuse that target keyword into the content itself. So I feel like most e-commerce or most product shops don't add enough content on their product pages. Like they're kind of either really small, really short, or they're, if you're working with like a wholesaler and you're kind of like a reseller, they'll just use like that wholesale description. Don't do that, because how many resellers are using that exact same description? So taking the
Mm,
time to kind of build out the content on these product pages is really important too.
I love that. That's so helpful. And I am also curious, do we target one or multiple keywords on our product pages? So each
Yes.
product, is it one keyword, or is it okay to have a main keyword and then we're contextualizing with a couple related keywords?
Yeah, so I like to think about it in terms of a triangle. So at the very top, we have our number one top dog, top priority keyword. Like, what's the keyword that we want to put in those 8 places that I just mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
But then on the bottom half of the triangle, we're naturally going to show up for other synonyms of that keyword. So how many keywords we target depends on how many synonyms are related to the target keyword and how many different like variations and ways can we get, or like how many phrases or like how many solutions does this page solve? Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it totally depends on the keyword. It totally depends on the product. It all depends on just like what you're trying to target. So like the lemongrass candle, for example, I could target lemongrass candle, soy lemongrass candle, organic soy lemongrass candle, organic lemongrass candle, large lemongrass candle. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like all of
Yeah.
those, because my product page is the perfect solution to all of those.
Okay. So just find that balance. Um, this leads to a great question that Nina asked. Is it possible to over optimize a product for a keyword? And you already answered the second part of the question, but can we overdo it?
I feel like, especially knowing Nina, I think that she would like you would already know. Do you know what I mean? Like when you see a product page and you're like, holy shit, we get it. Like you're trying to target lemongrass candle. Like we get it. It's very obvious. It's going to
Okay.
be the same as like over optimizing a blog post. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can overdo it. The place that I see most e-commerce people overdoing it are like with their tags, like just putting keywords because they think tags are keywords and like that's not the way that it works.
Mm-hmm.
Tags are created to better organize your shop for a user experience. It's not a place for you to dump keywords. So that's a place where people over optimize. And image alt text. If your image alt text has a comma in it, you're probably doing it wrong. So like
Mm-hmm.
image alt text is essentially created for website accessibility. It's what the screen readers read in order to understand and relay what is in that image to the visually impaired website visitor. And so that's first and foremost. Image alt text is for accessibility. A
Yeah.
lot of people, when they first learn about SEO or they're diving in, or maybe they don't understand it, they think image alt text is a place to just dump keywords. And so, like
Mm.
the image alt text of we're going to keep going with the lemongrass candle. So, the example of like a stuffed one or an over optimized one would be like lemongrass candle, comma, organic lemongrass candle, comma, soy organic lemongrass candle, comma. Like that's not what an image alt text should be. It should very clearly explain the image. So if this
Yeah.
lemongrass candle is sitting on a desk next to a plant, you might say large organic soy lemongrass candle sitting on desk next to plant. You're
Yeah.
literally being like very, very clear and obvious. And then this is also how we get away from like using the same image alt text for every image. Because when you're an e-commerce shop or when you're selling products, you probably have numerous images. And people are
Mm-hmm.
like, well, how the heck am I going to image alt text all of these images? You're just very clear. Like, why did you take that other image? Is it a close-up?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you add close-up of lemongrass candle on desk. Oh, is
Mm-hmm.
it from the left point of view?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like, or like is it a jacket and so you're like zooming in on the buttons here and so it's like zoomed in buttons of blah 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 jacket. So you're just being wildly honest about what
Yeah.
that image is of. But so like yes, you can over optimize a product page, but I think in the content itself, it's a little hard to do without sounding ridiculously spammy. I find that most people over optimize, like I said, in the tags or in the image alt text.
Okay. So y'all don't do that. You heard it here. This is like a great question that I also got from one of our viewers. Okay. Is it better sales wise to create product pins that link directly to the product or to create blog posts that mention and link to your product? So I'm going to twist this a little to not talk directly about Pinterest, but in terms of like, is it better to focus on our product listings directly or to create content that promotes our products? I feel like you're going to say do both, but I asked it.
Okay, it all depends on the keyword. It depends on what the keyword is. If I'm typing in lemongrass candle, I want a product page.
Mhm.
So consider what kind of content is the best solution to the problem. If I type in best lemongrass candles, I probably want a blog post that's highlighting like 7 lemongrass candles or a collection page that overviews them. So it depends. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm typing in like best roasted or how to roast coffee
Mhm.
for or how to make iced coffee. I don't really care about your coffee beans showing up. I want to know how to make iced coffee. So I would
Yeah.
rather a blog post show up or a YouTube video or something. So it all depends on the keyword. But if you want to kind of get topical authority, basically like Google understanding your website and understanding what your website is really good at, what you specialize in, what you're an expert in, whether you're e-commerce or a service provider, it doesn't really matter. Then building out content that supports the rest of your products and stuff like that is a fantastic way to do that. Like I was working with a drop shipping client who sold like really high-end electric fireplaces, and he ended up creating really successful blog posts about like 7 linear fireplaces for your living room. And then he
Mhm.
just highlighted all 7 of his products that were
Mhm.
the perfect fit. So he was getting traffic from that blog post, but he was also showing up for like linear electric fireplace and blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
then some other words in there. So it all depends on the keyword.
And to answer this question from the Pinterest side, it is good to go at it from both ways because just like Mariah said, either way can lead you to the sale. It just depends what is that search intent of the
Mhm.
person who is potentially shopping, potentially looking. And when it comes to Pinterest, you're going to be most successful when you have a variety of links. So, personally, I don't necessarily want someone to constantly just be sharing product links with me. Like, I think a lot of us like the lifestyle angle. We want the recipes or we want the roundups, we want the how to's, the ways of making our daily lives better. We don't always just want the buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this.
Mhm.
So personally, I say do both. Why
Yeah.
not? I think we put so much energy and effort into creating our products. Why not find as many ways as possible to share how amazing our products are and how someone who's a potential customer can amplify their life by purchasing it. And especially on Pinterest, when it comes to product pins, you'll notice like if you search for any type of product, those images are lifestyle images. They're usually someone, if we're talking about a candle, right? It's that candle that's in a warm room, or it's like part of a table setting, or it's, like it's a cozy moment. That's what we're buying. It isn't
Yep.
always just about soy organic candle. Yeah, great. How's this going to change my life? How's it going to make my day amazing? Help me relax? So
Yep.
I think, it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that.
and this is another question we got. I have been doing Pinterest and Google SEO, and they bring about 25K visits a month to my shop. People also dwell for a long time. I can hardly get them to convert. I have CTA, call to action. What gives? Any thoughts?
It would all depend on what you got going on. It would depend on like the actual design of the website. Is it very clear that people know that they can purchase? Is the purchase button difficult to find? Is it very obvious? Consider like we have to consider pricing. We have to consider shipping. Like what pages are they dwelling on? Are they getting to halfway through the checkout page and then they're leaving? Okay, then shipping
Mm-mm.
might be an issue. Or it's like if they're not purchasing, are you not highlighting like why they should purchase? What are the benefits? Because like when it comes to e-commerce and stuff like that, people forget, like they think that they're adding too much content and being overwhelming, but like especially buyers like me, I'm a fact finder, especially if I can't like pick up the thing and hold it in store. I need you to literally spell it out to me. How much does it weigh? How tall is it? How wide is it? Like, I want no surprises when this thing shows up in the mail. And so
Mm-hmm.
being very honest and clear in your description, the benefits, and obviously benefits will depend on like what you're selling and stuff like that. But like being so clear and so descriptive of what the product is and the benefits, I feel like that's a way that you can probably bump it up.
Yeah, and in terms of like description and helping someone to visualize, okay, soy candle, like what does it look like? How does it feel? How like add in more images and videos. I think a lot of the time, if we have better visuals, we can help to improve that conversion. Maybe adding something like Microsoft Clarity to your shop site will help you to see where people are clicking and where you're losing them. It's just like a heat map type tool
Yep.
that will show you literally every time someone comes on, it traces the mouse clicks, and that can help you to understand why they're not buying. I would even say, like, do you have an email list? Are you trying to get people off your site into a place where you can communicate with them directly? Because maybe it's an issue that it's not a buy the first time I hear about it type product. I think some of us, depending what we're selling, if it's something that's higher ticket, people need a little bit of time to maybe get to know you, get to know your product more. And if the only interactions they have is like click to your website, like maybe I need a couple emails from you about it.
Yep.
Maybe I need to keep hearing about it. Maybe I need testimonials. Maybe you just don't
Yep.
know. So I think if we can separate ourselves from it being like, this is my product and it's amazing and it should be selling, to have like fresh eyes and like even maybe ask somebody to go through our process with us and to literally just tell us what they think. I think that can help a lot with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Love that. And of course, if anyone else has questions, be sure to post them. I'm focusing on the questions directly relating to product SEO. And here's another great one. How long does it take to see results? So say we get started with this strategy today, how long before we can see results in our sales?
It depends. It totally all depends. And this is kind of the annoying part about SEO, right? It's the annoying part of all organic marketing. I could say the same thing about Instagram. If you start an Instagram profile tomorrow, how long is it going to take for you to get your first client or to get your first sale from that brand new Instagram thing? Like if Google hasn't heard about you yet, it could take a little bit of time, but it also comes back to what keywords are you targeting? How competitive are they? If you're targeting super competitive keywords, you might never get traction because there's like bigger competitors, bigger businesses kind of beating you out for that. But like if you find little gaps in the market or just like keywords that are a little easier to rank for, and you can usually find this data in like an SEO keyword research tool. But if you can find one that's a little easier to rank for, then sometimes you can get results rather quickly. And so I find that it also depends on where your website is starting at. Like if your website is brand new, it's probably going to at least take around 6 months in order for for Google to take you seriously, for you to kind of like populate and show your authority and all of that stuff, get backlinks.
Yeah.
But if your website has been around a little bit and then you start doing SEO and start putting keywords on your pages, Google can sometimes be like, oh my gosh, we literally don't have really good solutions to this problem or solutions to this keyword. We'll put you maybe on page 1 or page 2 within 4 weeks. So like it depends on so many factors.
So would you say if we are just getting started or brainstorming new product ideas, it's best to just go after the keywords that we can actually be competitive for?
I think it depends. It all depends. It always all depends, because also it's like you could target a keyword that's a little bit more competitive and you put that keyword maybe on a product page or on like a blog post or something like that. And then you might not show up for that keyword. But if you have Google Search Console, you'll be able to see your data and like maybe actually you show up for a synonym for that target keyword. But simply by putting the keyword on there, Google understands the product page. Now you're being associated with the synonym, so you can see that data and then you can re-optimize that product page for the synonym.
Okay, that's like a good strategy to see, what other keywords will come up when you target it. That's great.
So yeah, it all totally depends.
Okay, this is another great question we had. Does the whole site's optimization affect the SEO of a single product?
It depends on the competition of the keyword.
Okay.
Truly. And so it also depends on like what the whole site optimization means. So
Mm-hmm.
domain authority is a thing that Google cares about. And that's basically like street credit for like your website, or like a thing that Google can track in terms of, are you trustworthy and authoritative? Google gives every website that it knows of like a domain authority score, and that plays a role in things. So if you have a low domain authority score and the score is out of 100, the closer to 100, like the more authoritative your website is. People start diving in to look at like what their website's authority score is, and then they get very sad. And
Mm.
so listen, I have not found any websites that hit 100 because Google is literally like, you can always get better. We don't give out 100. They're like a jerky teacher. And I will even say, like, let's use Oprah as an example. Everybody knows who Oprah is, very authoritative. Her website is only has a domain authority, I think, of like in the 60s.
Mm.
Most of my clients are less than 20. So like
Mm-hmm.
smaller to medium sized businesses usually hang out there. So all of that to say, like your domain authority, if you're building backlinks, if you're getting credibility that Google can kind of like follow, that can improve the SEO of a single product. Or if like the rest of your website, if you have broken links, if it's hard to navigate, if you don't have breadcrumbs, like all of this user experience stuff is bad, then yes, it could negatively affect the SEO of a single product, because Google wants to put the best solution to the problem on page one. If it can't trust your website, crawl your website, know your website, or doesn't think that you're an expert in your field or in your market, then no, it doesn't want to recommend your product, because there's probably a ton of other products that it can understand and trust a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer. And what's the worst e-commerce SEO issue you've seen that hinders people, other than if there's nothing in addition to the over tagging and, trying to like stuff keywords into alt tags, is there anything else you've seen, like maybe even something that someone does to their website that you commonly see that
Yes.
destroys user
Yes.
experience? What comes to mind?
Yeah. So this is a huge one, especially when people don't understand e-commerce. So e-commerce and Google is a long-term game. Google wants to recommend products that are going to be there for the long term.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen clients use their online e-commerce shop as like their storefront. And then they're removing products every season to put new products on the website. I've seen that happen where it's like, oh, we're going to completely switch up the copy, the messaging, and everything of the homepage to reflect Christmas time now. We're going to swap out all of our products, hide all of our summer products, and only show our Christmas candles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now Google doesn't have that longevity, and Google's not like, okay, well, yeah, I'll only show you around Christmas time. It wants evergreen URLs and products so that it can build up that trust and that authority. So I would say that's probably like the worst e-commerce SEO issue, because now you're just, even if you gain a little bit momentum quickly with like maybe a summer scented candle, then you delete it.
Mm.
All of that like completely goes away. Do you know what I mean? So I would
Yeah.
say that that's like the biggest issue I've seen.
So how can we maintain our home pages in a way that it seems relevant and seasonal, but also not destroy? Would you say to focus on just having more evergreen products on our home pages?
It depends. So you can swap out products on your home pages, but like the actual text, like your H1 heading, your who
Mhm.
the shop is, and like what your category is, what niche or what industry are you in,
Don't change
don't change that. Like, why are you better than other people
that. Mhm.
in your industry? Like your competitor advantage, maybe you offer free shipping, maybe you actually care about your
Mhm.
customers and your other people don't. Maybe like your products are vegan, or maybe,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like those beneficial things, those shouldn't be changed. Or
Mhm.
also like what you focus on, like maybe you have a philosophy or a mission or something like that. Like we can bulk up a homepage with this text that
Yeah.
can really like live evergreen, and then you can still swap out background images, and you can swap out like little seasonal,
Mhm.
like, oh, this is our sales section or something like that. So yeah, you can still play with keeping enough content that Google still trusts and knows what the heck is happening. And I would say another e-commerce mistake is people only building their site with like mostly images.
Mm.
People will
Mhm.
do that where it's like, listen, when you're e-commerce or you're selling products, images sell. We know that. But the Google bots, they can't really see the images like me and you. And so, like, we have to be able to give them some text here. And so, the rule of thumb is like, make sure that, yes, even your homepage, all of your product pages, make sure that you at least have like 300 words on there. And I know
Mhm.
some people are like 300 words on like all of my product pages. And it's like, yeah, because if you have less than that, Google's going to deem it as thin content.
Ooh.
And remember, if we want to get on page one, we have to be the best solution to the problem. How are we
Mhm.
going to be the best solution to the problem if we're not even explaining what problem that we solve?
Yeah. Yeah. 300 or more. Y'all heard it here.
300 or
Um,
more.
I love that. That's great advice, especially for those of us who are maybe just getting started, thinking about product creation. We want to
Mhm.
establish who we are and what our products are, like what our standard is, what we offer that doesn't change, really great reminders. Another great question: do reviews help e-commerce SEO, or are they irrelevant to that?
Yeah, reviews are huge for e-commerce SEO because think about it. Google again wants to showcase the best solution to the problem. What a better way to showcase that you're the best solution to the problem than having like reviews or highly rated products. And so that
Mhm.
schema is basically like code that Google likes to read or that the robots like to read. Google will scan a product to see if you have review schema and then show your reviews in Google search. So
Mhm.
yeah, if you're, let's say that your product page is like stuck on page 2 of Google and you want to try to get it on page 1, sometimes like getting some reviews specifically on that product page can help.
Are there certain plugins or tools for gaining reviews that you would recommend? Or does basically like Shopify listing, WooCommerce listings have a review functionality already built in?
I would say I've only ran into one client that didn't have a review functionality, and I kind of talked to the website designer and developer and was like, "Hey, I need review functionality." So I'm not
Hmm.
sure like what the best solution is. I kind of just tell people that they need it.
Yeah. Okay. Love that. Here's one more. Sales page versus checkout optimizations. Does it differ?
So Google doesn't see your checkout page. So it doesn't see your
Mm,
checkout process. They're not the best solution to any problem. So why would they show up like in a
yeah.
Google search? They're instead on the page for user experience. So when we're
Hmm.
talking about SEO, sales pages, product pages, collection pages, home pages, other pages, blog post pages, those matter a lot more. But checkout optimization matters for conversions. So like it all plays together, it's just different.
Hmm. Okay. I love that. I'm just going to click and answer the couple questions we have about Pinterest SEO. Is there a tool you recommend to analyze your pin for SEO? As I am aware, there is no such tool. Rather, when we're doing our SEO research for Pinterest, we are the ones, as the creator of said pin, that needs to do the optimization. So whether that's using the Pinterest search bar or Pinterest trends to find keywords that we are going to optimize our pin title, our pin description, our pin image where relevant, as also topic tags to ensure that our image is being found when it comes to that search. So, in terms to analyzing how well we're doing to SEO, it's pretty, I'd say like just like Mariah, if someone was like, here's my sales page or product page, you could look at it and say, well, we're not quite optimizing this to the best of our abilities here. The same thing can be said for any pin. And I would just encourage to not overstuff anything, to speak like a human, to write actual sentences and not just dump lemongrass candle, candle lemongrass, candle made from lemongrass, grass lemon candle. Like that's, let's be people, because essentially we're marketing to people, right?
Mhm. Yep.
I would say that's that. And there's
And
another question. Oh, you want to add something?
yeah, it's also if we remember the actual algorithm. So like algorithms get a bad rep and rightfully so sometimes. But
Mm-hmm.
like the algorithms are always changing because they're trying to better understand how users are using the internet. So even the algorithm changes usually are shifting because of like user experience stuff. So it comes back to humans still.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Yeah, people are always like not. Maybe we could actually even talk about that a little bit more because about algorithms. Because I think a lot of the time we can hate the algorithm, blame
Mhm.
the algorithm, seem as if we need to outsmart the algorithm. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think that we can outsmart the algorithm, especially with the Google algorithm. Once Google sees that people are starting to like manipulate or like find some like roundabout way to do things, it'll usually change the algorithm to like shift the search results that we're doing that, and then you'll drop out. So like trying to manipulate it or like pull one up on it, it might work in the short term. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
it might. But in the long term, it's just not going to be a sustainable result. And like that's why I like SEO, is because it's more sustainable, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. I don't have to post Instagram reels 3 times a week in order to get visibility. You know what I mean? Like I could have a blog post or a product page, or my DIY SEO course sales page has been on page 1 in position 1 for like 2 years. And I think I've updated the page like once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like if you can understand the algorithm, if you can understand what Google's looking for and you can understand keywords, you can play the game with it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And that just led me to a question. Do we have to update our product listings? If so, how frequently do you recommend?
It depends. Do your product listings need updating? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like from a buyer perspective, like do you have better or more information, or like is there a new version of it, or like do you have better photos? I
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of like just a business owner decision.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like getting reviews on the product, that's a way to like update the product listing, is like you're
Yeah.
adding reviews to it, so you can consider it like that. But the one time when we do really have to like update our product listing is if we're trying to re-optimize the product. Like if we see in Google Search Console that we're showing up for a different product variation keyword or something like that, then yeah, we're going to have to update our product listing to re-optimize it for the new keyword. So it depends if your keyword strategy is changing. It depends on if you have to add more content. It depends, are you slipping off of page 1? And so if
Mm-hmm.
you are, take a look at like who's ranking above you now. What do they have on their product pages? Like use Google to get on Google. It's going to tell you so much.
I love that. I love that. Such great advice. This almost makes me excited to like focus on optimizing and, just doing the best that I can to, just further my own business and also to help my people with their own product SEO when it comes to optimizing for Pinterest.
Mhm.
And how can we connect with you, Mariah? What do you have for us? Yeah, let us know. Let us know how, like, if someone's watching this and they're like, oh my gosh, I need help. What are those next steps?
Yeah, so everything lives on my website at mariahmagazine.com. So you can go ahead and check that out. So I do have consulting packages and I have like done for you foundational setups. But if you want to, this is one of my total free resources, is the SEO tools freebie. So this is like a master list of all of the SEO tools that I like using for keyword research, for blog posts, and for YouTube. So that's totally free. You can go ahead and download that if you'd like. And then, yeah, I have some services listed on my website. If you want to dabble in like, how does this girl talk about SEO? How does she educate on it? I do have a YouTube channel, so you can search Mariah Magazine. If you're on Instagram, I'm Mariah Magazine CO.
Optimization.
Yep.
It can feel like
There
a
we
total
go.
mystery when you're first getting started. So
How fun. Okay. So yeah, and then this is my Instagram here, Mariah Magazine CO. If you have any questions about anything that I dove into, definitely DM me. I use messages and DMs and feedback and questions from my audience, from my clients and all of that, to inspire new videos on my channel, to inspire new freebies. Literally everybody's always asking me about a list for SEO tools. That's why I created that. And
Nice.
I use it to inspire live workshops too.
Hey, amazing. So y'all click that link, grab Mariah's checklist, and reach out to her with any of your questions when it comes to optimizing. And I would just say a reminder, when we're focusing on product SEO, don't forget to also optimize for, Pinterest or wherever you're sharing your product. So yes, we want to optimize our product listings, our website, our sales pages, mostly for Google, but we also, if we're sharing that somewhere, go to that platform, search for those keywords or even hashtags if it's social media, and just make sure you're using those specific terms when you're sharing. I think sometimes when it comes to Pinterest, there's a lot of confusion about which keywords we're prioritizing on Pinterest. And you just have to remember, if you're sharing on Pinterest, you need to prioritize Pinterest keywords. But, on that product listing or sales page, you can optimize for, Google, which I think is still the number one search engine out there. Right?
Yeah, for sure. At least for the foreseeable future. Things might shift. As always, we don't know. But I also think that YouTube is coming up pretty strong, especially like with AI content, people generating content with AI. I feel like people are really going to crave video content. It's going to be hard. Like, it's easier to create text content from AI. It's harder to create videos that feel like people from AI. I feel like people are really going to start craving personality, tone, and all of that. Yeah, I think YouTube is going to be a really, really like popular search engine, even more than it is now.
Love that. Y'all heard it here first. So thank you so much, Mariah. Honestly, I'm like excited about product SEO, and I hope everyone is as well. Let's get our SEO on. So thank you. And yeah, be sure to click and connect with Mariah. She's got amazing stuff. Subscribe to her channel, get that checklist. And yeah, I'll be seeing you around.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. New videos every week. We're here talking Pinterest. Woo!